has the certified most accurate forecast in all of Hampton Roads.
Meteorologist Jeff Lawson and Evan Stewart have been tracking Hurricane Florence with several models for the best prediction.
Yeah, and we're talking about a weaker storm at this point, but you can't let your guard down because actually the wind field has expanded a little bit. It's not pulling a Matthew and going to expand out 100 or 200 miles because it's not transitioning into a sort of hybrid storm or a nor'easter. So we'll get to all that in a minute. Right now, again, for South Side, Hampton, up to Poquoson, we have that tropical storm watch for the possibility of winds over 40. In northeast North Carolina, the likelihood of some winds over 40. And then down here from Nags Head south, we have the hurricane warning. Out there right now, a lot of the low clouds starting to settle in. The first bands came through earlier today, and now a couple more of these very, very small showers, again, way out in front of the main area, are coming through. We're going to continue to watch every so often into the day tomorrow. Some of these isolated to maybe scattered areas of shower and storm activity that'll continue to move in. And then with the storm to our south Thursday night into Friday, we'll still get some rain. It'll be heavy at times. The really heavy stuff looks like it'll stay again. I'm talking the 10 to 20 inch amounts or more should stay to the south, and wet weather continues. So the tropical satellite showing the storm moving to the north. It's going to eventually, we now think, be a Category 2. We're hoping it's a Category 1. Maybe continues that trend, but right now the thinking is a few miles away per hour from being a Category 3, but a Category 2 that then makes landfall, moves inland, and weakens pretty quickly to a tropical storm. If that happens, instead of it slowing up offshore, that would lower some of the effects here again locally, but with the storm spreading out, maybe not as much as you think. So for coastal Hampton roads through the weekend, we're still going to say 30, maybe as high as 40 in terms of sustained winds with some gusts to 50. That'll still knock some trees down, I think, with the very saturated ground. 3 to 6 inches of rain, moderate tidal flooding, maybe not now getting up on the low edge of major, but still a couple of spots. We're going to get to that with Evan in a minute, and the overall impact's moderate. 25 to 35, gusting to 45 for inland areas, 3 to 6 inches of rain, generally moderate tidal flooding with a very few exceptions. Interior inland sections of North Carolina, 35 to 45, gusting to 55 though, 4 to 8 inches of rain, moderate flooding. Northern Outer Banks, 35 to 45, gusting to 60 with 4 to 8 inches of rain and moderate to maybe in a few spots major flooding. Southern Outer Banks, 60 to 75, gusting to 90, 5 to 10 inches of rain, major to extreme flooding still expected. Speaking of flooding, when we say moderate to maybe in a few spots major, what are we talking about, Evan?
Well, each area has its own different datum that says what minor, moderate, or major flooding is. But I put together this map. This shows some of our river level and some of our bay level and some of the sensors that are there. And this gives you a look at Friday. Everywhere that you see the green, that's when we're not expecting any kind of tidal flooding. If we see yellow, we're talking about nuisance flooding. Where we get into those oranges, that's some minor flooding. We're talking about Sewell's Point. I labeled it right there in the middle. Just above that is Fort Monroe, back towards Scotland where the ferry comes in, the Jamestown Scotland ferry, Mobjack Bay. We've got some of those oranges. But look what happens as we get into Friday. We start to see some moderate flooding along the Chesapeake Bay, the eastern shore, up the James River, up the York River, and even some major flooding once you get back towards Scotland and up through Mobjack Bay. So some of our tidal hot spots hitting Friday during the afternoon and evening in Louisetta. 4.1 feet, that's still major flooding there. That will hit around 6 p.m., 1 p.m. for Mobjack Bay, 4 p.m. for Scotland, Corolla around 12 p.m., and Fort Monroe coming up Friday around 1 p.m. as well. So those are some of the hot spots. Other locations, we're still looking at that potential for that moderate tidal flooding. Jeff?
All right, and again, we're going to have to watch and see if this storm indeed strengthens or if it weakens. Right now the thinking is, and in the write-up it says this is a low confidence forecast in terms of the intensity. Pretty high confidence forecast in terms of the track, very high actually through at least the next 48 hours and on into 72-hour time frame. So for tonight, 76 for the low, a few very isolated showers moving into parts of the area, so it's possible you could see one. Increasingly breezy though, winds northeasterly 10 to 20 miles per hour. For tomorrow, 83. isolated to, at times, especially later in the day, scattered showers or thunderstorms. Not going to rain all day, may not even rain everywhere. Windy though and warm. Northeast winds 25 to 35, but gusting over 40. That's when we could start to see some of the problems. The 7-day forecast. After tomorrow, Friday, more of the same with 70% chance of some rain and wind at times. Well, more than that, 70% chance of rain at times. The wind we're definitely going to be seeing throughout the day again, but not as high as it could have been or as high as it will be to the south, and some high tide still. That may be our highest on Friday. Saturday and Sunday, getting more of the scattered shower variety, so you may be able to get out and hopefully we won't have a lot to clean up, but things will start to pull away once we get into Saturday and Sunday. So that's the very latest on Florence.